What is up, everybody? I think this is the first time I didn't immediately start with, I guess I'm live. Maybe that means I just trust in the equipment too much and I'm doomed to failure. Maybe not, I don't know. I'll take y'all's opinion on it if you're catching this. I didn't give much time. I just scheduled it right now. So it means if you're popping in, it just happened to have popped up in your feed and you just happened to have had 5 seconds to pop in and listen. So huzzah. Good to see you. All right. So I took only 11 days to get this next one out. I feel like that's an improvement. That's a damn fine improvement I'm giving myself in this vote. I don't know if anybody's here to disagree. So if not, then I get the right vote. I win. Anyways, where have I been? It's been a fun week or so. I have been in a lot of places. Well, actually, only 3 cities, I think. But 2 of those were Boston. And let's see, let's just go to it. So I'm up to 145 presentations now this year. Did some really fun presentations in the last few weeks. And then I get this lull for the next week and a half of basically focusing on boot camp. If you're not registered for boot camp, you should. It's going to be in Atlanta this year. It's going to be super fun. I am potentially ordering some new infrastructure because I'm having to build an infrastructure for this particular version. Could be some really fun stuff. But anyways, so I was in Boston first. I came into Boston to meet with Bryson, ACS, which is an MSP. And I'm trying to find this real quick. Excuse me, y'all. September, what week? That was 7th through 13th. Okay. Yeah. At the ACS event for the CFME. So CFMA, which is the construction, like people that build skyscrapers. These were those companies that were there. And it was really interesting to give a talk and be on a panel and talk about some things around. Basically what I did is I just listened to the 3 other panelists or 4 other panelists and I closed up and I just kind of disagreed with some of what they said, agreed with some of what they said, added a lot of stuff to what they said. One of the guys there was the chief of the cyber and cyber crime division for Boston. Really good humans, good fun. So that was awesome. And then Kat and I came home. I worked on Friday on Swords for Overlords, the talk that I'm doing in a couple weeks in Amsterdam with Eric Stevens, and again at Wildwest Hackenfest in South Dakota in a different way, if you will, just for a different audience in South Dakota. So, anyways, worked on that, and then I got a couple days at home again working on just like meetings for boot camp. The amount of time that goes into boot camp, the amount of effort that goes into boot camp, probably is asynchronous to the number of humans that are there and the economic impact it may have. However, the meaning and impact that it has is extremely high to the people that are there. And vendors support it and like it. So I'm happy that it's a cool modality where they don't get to be on stage, but we get to use their tools to have fun. So anyway, spent a lot of time working on that last week. Got ready for Momentum Toronto. I'm going to be doing a different type of thing in Momentum in Toronto, so that'll be fun. Not different than what I have been doing, but different than what Momentum has seen. I've been doing a kill chain analysis workshop type thing, and so that's been fun to get ready for. So yeah, and then I did teach the last half of the developing security policy. I mean, I'll be honest, like I haven't written a lot of policy. Matt Topper's written a lot of policy. Sheldon Phillips has written a lot of policy. I've looked at a lot of policy. I've talked about a lot of policy. I'm quite aware of a lot of the requirements for security controls and technical aspects and governance aspects, but I don't myself write a lot of policy. And so it's fun doing that class because I just bring a lot of my advice and understanding of what I've seen and what I've seen others do. And it's kind of a interesting class because I don't serve as the expert for policy. I serve more about the actual controls and safeguards. Anyways, so I did that other 2 hours to knock that out. So that brings me to 55 hours of education stuff I've done this year. And it's kind of hard. Where do I draw that line? And then did a peer group meeting. I love those because they just ask questions and they're fun and they usually are really good and they're very deep, and which is good because I'm getting ready to do a peer group for implementing CIS controls, and some of the questions that are being asked are fantastic things to tackle in this peer group because some of them are real challenges. And then I'm going to do some more wrap up Swords for Overlords. Did a fun stream. I always love this stream. AI has become such a huge part of where my brain focuses. It's obviously for any of you out there too, right? Obviously, it's, if nothing else, just forced down your throat. But I mean, I really spend a lot of time hands on keyboard using Naten or N8N. You guys vote. Like, is it N8N or Naten? I find myself having to say both to satisfy people or to mess with people. But I think it's N8N is the way I'll go with it. Stephen Kellogg would stab me if he was listening right now. But anyways, N8N, using that as ways to inject agent flows that are more controllable, memory management, to manage some context challenges, just all the cool things to learn and nerd out on, and do a lot of Claude Code. I'm teaching my son to do a lot of Claude Code, doing projects left and right. In fact, enhancing Bootcamp quite a bit with AI. I won't say too much, but building some stuff we've alluded to in the past is now quite easy to actually build and showcase the actual moment that all of something goes away, which is really neat from a data perspective. So without actually killing any American citizens. So that's fantastic. And so that's just a lot of what the time was. So HAI, our hackathon live stream, is really just meant to be hands-on keyboard. It's turned into a lot more of demonstrative talk than a hands-on keyboard and showing screens, but we do a fair share of showing screens as well. And then that was one more stream, one more presentation. I think that only leaves me one more to talk about, which was later that week. I flew to Phoenix and had a day in Phoenix. Eric, what's up? An 8, an 8 according to their team. I didn't catch what that means. I'm sorry, Eric, what that was. But anyways, flew to Phoenix. It was hot. First off, like going out and walking. My wife and I have been trying to exercise every single day for the last about 2.5 months, just getting back ready for a hard 75 we do every year in January. So happy to say I'm at my lowest weight too. Like I'm down to my lowest weight that I've been in 3-4 years. So that's pretty good too. And just from those efforts, others combined, and the kind of accumulated fatigue addressed to in the last episode. But anyways, yeah, and so flew to Phoenix and then presented in Phoenix. I did a live stream for IR Game. If you're not familiar with that work, Bob Miller runs and is now principally spending his life actually making a commercial go of it. Runs irgame.ai, irgame.ai. It's just a really neat attempt to bring IR games that help people tabletop in a way that Ethan Tancredi and myself developed about, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it might be now. Seems like a century ago at this point. But in 8N. Okay, thanks, Eric. I guess touche. If you had just written the numbers or the letters and the number again, it would have only been alliteratively the same. I'd have to make the same decision. I follow. I'm not very smart. Thank you, buddy. You're the man. Just this piece that he initially said, right? The N8N, according to their team, and N8N pronounced N8N to help Matt for his stupidity. So I'll leave this one up for everybody else. But yeah, touche. So, but I've been spending a lot of time back to that point of doing that. But anyways, then went to Phoenix, and did that IR game. It was neat. It was good. It was a neat way to do it. One of the things that was such an element I wanted to do is I wanted people to walk away from that IR game when we first did this with a little bit of the scars that people that live it have. I mean, I wanted to stress them. I wanted to keep them in a kind of place where they, does it frustrate when you get interrupted? But what if you got interrupted 35 times while you were trying to solve something? How frustrated do you get then? What's your heart rate like? What's your blood pressure starting to do, right? And so the game attempts to do that by rotating in 2-minute intervals between very hard topics that people want to talk about. And then one guy or one gal takes up 42 seconds for the 2 minutes, and everybody else has things they want to say, but then they're non-requited for that forever. Like just forever. We just move on and move on and move on and move on. And then sometimes give little tastes of bringing back the point before, and then actually having to be cut off by the moderator because I have to keep moving because the screen keeps moving. So anyways, just one of those things. It's a different type of tabletop. It's not meant to test your internal administrative policies and technical policies and procedures. It's not meant to do that. It's not meant to build internal tactical technical skills, right? Like thinking like backdoors and breaches, like I have over here. Like it's not meant to be that. I mean, it doesn't do those things, right? It's meant to be just hearts and minds plus core concept understanding. Um, Eric said, "Yeah, +1 for IR games. How we spring into actions, everything went on fire. Critical skills massively overlooked." Like we make a joke of it, but like genuinely, if you don't know to get down to the floor because the smoke rises, and if you inhale the smoke a few seconds, you might get lightheaded, noxious, and pass out, and then you're going to die. So like it might be prudent to stay down. If you don't know those things, you breathe a few lungfuls of soot and hope you make it. I mean, it really is kind of one of those things where I feel very strongly that practicing and looking towards your worst day is probably more impactful than looking at things like everything's sunshiny and perfect. I'm not saying that makes you a happy human all the time, no tease, but yeah, I think you have to focus on that and you have to practice and you also have to be in the right mind frame. You can go through an exercise and go, oh well, I guess we failed these three things. That doesn't mean anything unless you feel it. And I think what our game is meant to do is that. But anyways, our game was built off of what Ethan and I built. Ethan's so brilliant. If you don't know Ethan Tancredi, Tancredi, you should be following Ethan Tancredi. He's just a brilliant human. He's a nice guy. He wears a bow tie better than most people. I know for sure. And he's just brilliant from a game theory perspective, from a numbers perspective. I mean, literally the way he made the first numbers, it was really good. I mean, we didn't make many adjustments in the early part of this until it got the capabilities it's gotten from what Bob built. But ultimately, just brilliant, man. So, anyways, just added that in. Okay, so that gets me to the Phoenix thing. We played the IR game. I wrapped it up. I drank with a few of the guys and gals, had some amazing conversations. CMIT is one of those cool ones. It's a franchise. They are trying very hard to make a level playing field of the humans that are in their franchises. They're trying to educate, they're trying to get grasp of the challenges of scale with those organizations, and they're just amazing to work with. I genuinely enjoyed going and talking to their people. They just great questions, great humans, great depth of knowledge and disparateness of knowledge. Just I mean, and one of the core things that came up, and I'll say this is what came up in that, and I think this is an element we always talk about in IR game, in this, in at least the modality, the first one. Hey, Paul. Hey, Eric. Anybody else that's here as well. Anyways, so is that the CMIT team knows they can call on other CMIT franchises. They've already built those legal frameworks to exist, to be able to help each other in those moments, and to be able to structure them as third-party resources, because they are individual companies. And I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but it was really neat to see that they understood they could call upon each other, thus all having the capabilities of scale from at least some extent, as long as you have a plan. And maybe that goes to something else I just want to hit on because I'm here, and then I'll go to Paul's comment. Is that in case 50, and I'll talk about this more on our Patreon for Cyberrise. If you're not familiar with Cyberrise, please go look out cyberrise.org. We run msp911.org, and case 50 is one of these things that the human was asking for resources in bodies, and it's all they could ask for is, I need bodies, I need bodies, I need bodies, I need bodies. And they didn't have a plan for restoration. They didn't have a plan for, hey, Josh Buckley. They didn't have a plan for figuring out what restores look like. They knew they had bad backups. They knew they had no understanding of containment at this point for the most part. Like I said, I can't, or really Jason did. I don't want to steal his thunder, but you can't send them in. It's like a meat grinder. I can't send people in to be screamed at by a customer because they can't help anymore. They're still just as dead in the water, and sit there and just be chewed on. You just can't. And so it has to come down to, even if you have those external resources, in my opinion, you need to have the ability to use them in a way that's meaningful. And I think that comes back to what IR game's all about. Okay. Anyways, didn't mean to turn this into a +1 for IR games, but I suppose the comments are going to continue. So hold on. IR game's killer for non-technical business owners. Agreed. Who are blissfully unaware of what can destroy their businesses. Also agreed, Paul. Great to see your beautiful face. He plays quite a bit. Whenever we gave that concept essentially to Bob to build, one of the things we required is that he always provide free games for MSPs. So once a month, they do a game that you can get in on. We've run as many as X number of rooms. I don't know what X is, but it's more than 0. To do scale for 30, 40 people at any given time on those monthly games. And so it's great to see MSPs go through that. And Paul, I think you've played a number of times and had quite a bit of value to the system. All right, Eric, think about the house on fire you saw on the news. The firefighter's not running. Is this not an emergency? They walk because you run. Things get overlooked. Agreed. And they train this relentlessly. Also, and they have the gear in place to protect themselves. And also they have the training and knowledge of how to use it and how not to die while doing things to save others. And they know when to bail out when they can't save others. And they know, yeah, 100%. Oh, what's up, buddy? Josh, again, great seeing you. And then sending people direct to fire without structure. No, yeah, that's right. Here, go get a bucket, get in, take care of it. Right? Good call out, Josh. Thank you, buddy. Man, I don't even need to do the show. You guys got this for me. Just comment away. This is perfect. Thank you. Anyways, all right. So the title of this was "And a Long Day with United." And that might change, right? Because I've been doing some innate inflows to update my titles and do the chapter stuff and all that fun things. But anyways, holy crap. We were heading home, and I won't say where home is, but some of you know. Please, no comments, or I'll stab you in the face. But I was heading home, and we were coming from Phoenix, and we were going to go through Denver initially. And I, we were going to go to a museum that morning and kind of take it easy. And then we see that our flight goes from 12 to 1 to 1:30 to 2, and it's not looking good, right? And so we quickly know that we're going to miss our connection there to the next city. And so instead we fly way out of our way and fly to Chicago. And so it becomes this, 4-hour flight to Chicago from Phoenix or whatever it was, 3 something, plus the taxiway. But then we get on the tarmac in Chicago, and instead of having a 1.5-hour layover, or 1 hour 33 minutes to be, I guess, more specific, layover, we now had to go through construction. There was some delay from weather, which isn't really United's fault, right? But the delay from weather aspect of it, the Chicago being under construction. I think Denver's under construction. I think Houston's under construction. I think, right? And so you have these real delays that happen. And so it's just a really long day in an airplane. I think we finished up at about 11 p.m. finally when we were able to get out and get going. And that started at, I think we rushed to the airport at about 10:30 a.m. To try to make the flight that went through Chicago. So it was just like, yeah, anyways, it was just a long day. And it was one of those where it was almost everything that could go would go. The only saving grace, and this goes back to probably like why I'm not yelling about United right now. Instead, I'm just saying it was a long day with United. Is that the first person I called when I knew I was going to miss that flight was the 1K desk, and a lot of times the 1K desk has been getting worse. United has been trying to push more and more calls. Um, Not just offshore, which I understand that for bandwidth, but offshore, but first through an AI bot that's really tricky and tries to make you not be able to talk to someone. So now this bandwidth reduction modality that's playing out as well. And it's just like extremely frustrating. But that they've backed off on that in my kind of small data sample set of 4 or 5 calls that I've had to make in the last, I don't know, 6, 7 weeks. They've backed way off of that auto attendant work for 1K. I don't know if they've done that for the rest of it. If you guys want to chime in, if you also fly and are on United and having issues. But she was amazing. She did mine and my wife's flights, which were on separate itineraries because of the way it works with PAX 8. And so we're always separate, and she gets none of my benefits because of that. I don't even get into that. It's a little frustrating, but it is what it is. We do things to protect the corporation, and I like that. But yeah, so we were on separate, but the lady was nice. Sometimes they told me no. They were like, no, we're not going to do hers. She's not 1K. No, plebe. Okay, great. Josh, great question. As an Aussie, I thought United was better airline. No. If I was giving my ranking, and I've only experienced a few, so I'll give the ranking I've had of experience with. I would say that Delta is probably like the number one. I think there's challenges with Delta, don't get me wrong, but they're probably the number one airline in quality, comfort, price to quality, treatment, value, club quality, all the things. I think United, in my opinion's a second there. There might be people that throw things at me. I will say I'm excluding Spirit. I haven't done anything with Spirit, so I can't include them. But United, and then you'd inject like 12 fake airlines, and then there's American. I'm sorry for any American lovers, but Jesus, they're terrible. Like, it's really bad, especially without status. Like, it's bad. If I had to include Canada, I would definitely say Air Canada is not a great sister airline for United. It's all somehow worse. I accidentally waited too late to get to a flight that I didn't know I needed to do to I think Toronto or something. No, maybe it was Toronto. Yeah, it's Toronto from Kelowna to go to Boston. That's right. Yeah, fair. I forgot about that. But anyways, and so I got stuck back in like 33 or 34 row instead of like 10 or 11. I don't often get first class. It's mostly kind of the premium seating. We don't pay for it for sure. It's usually plus points or something. But anyway, so I got stuck back in like 33 and I got claustrophobic. I mean, and I don't get that claustrophobic. I do well in small spaces, but I was so tight with my backpack. I made the mistake of leaving my backpack down under the seat. I had nowhere to put my feet. The box was in the wrong place. I ended up just pulling my legs up to my chest and sitting there with my backpack between my legs and the seat behind it to hold my legs up as a modality to make that function for me. It was tight, man. And I'm not a small guy. Yeah. Is it Jetstar? So that's number 2 in Aussie. So I'm not sure how you haven't found a way to make that shorter than Jetstar. It'd be like Jetty, maybe? Would that be Star? J-Star? I don't know. Try to help me shorten that in traditional Aussie methodology. No, I tease Josh. Great to see you, man. It really is good to see your face. Yeah, but anyways, sorry, off on a tangent around airlines, but yeah, it's the operations I think that United waxes and wanes upon, and lately they've been pretty good. I'm actually been pretty happy with the operations. I think I've only had a few delayed flights, and yeah, I don't know. They even did some neat stuff that I saw yesterday where um, the pilots were coming in. We're also in that same parking lot out in the if you will, parking lot right in Chicago because there were so many planes trying to come through there. They were also, I can't let you out right now. I'm streaming. Fine. I'll be right back. My dog wants to get out. These other dogs were barking upstairs. Hold on. All right, dude. I'll let you out. Yes, I know. Go see. Anyways, who does that? Gets up and leaves a live stream. What a joker. Y'all just caught me not locking my screen. So theoretically, if someone had come through that door and gotten past me, they could have done something to my unlocked device. Anyways, yeah. So, okay. Sorry, tangent aside. Anyways, yeah, that was it. And then came back from Phoenix, been home, got in so late that I don't know that I call Saturday really a day. It was more Sunday. So had yesterday, got up, did a bicycle ride with the family, and then worked on getting my son set up for Claude Code. My son had been going down the path of learning code. He's done a lot of Python. He's done a lot of JavaScript. He's done a lot. And so I'm going to send him down the path of go learn through, manipulate, change, and see what Claude does well, what Claude does poorly, what works, what doesn't. I think that's one thing people are missing, actually. I'll add to this. I think you can learn by watching Claude screw up faster than you could learn by screwing up at your own pace. That's the way I might say that. So everybody downs on how bad some of these outcomes are, which is true. It takes a lot of work to get something useful and normalized out of Claude Code, in my opinion. And maybe I'm just stupid, but spent a whole lot of time in it, so I'm at least experientially stupid. But I'm sending John through that because I think he'll go in and go, okay, cool. I want to learn about a Vercel deployment. I want to learn about using Cloudflare workers and pages. I want to learn about using external infrastructure. Let's do some really cool Terraform. Let's work on our CI/CD pipeline. Let's put in some tests. Let's do some. You'll see Claude do that in just a day. I mean, all of those things in just a day. And you can go and ask it to clean up and change, and you learn how it fails. You can see where it misses stuff. I mean, if you are a curious human, I believe that using Claude has more value than the output of the code it creates as far as teaching someone about the things that exist in our world, at least in this micro moment of time. So anyways, I'm done opining on things, I suppose. Got a few of y'all still here. Just wanted to say thank y'all for being here. And I have made it almost through my year with a success rate that is pretty poor on having a weekly stream. William Cape says, because Claude can mess up faster and better. Yes, no, I mean, I'm literally making that conjecture, William. Like it actually messes up in nuanced ways at scale while doing stuff that somewhat works. Like, and you have to learn edges around what somewhat works. And it has taught me so much about things that don't work, that I need to understand, that are outside of my right. I always joke about this, and maybe you've sent me off on just a small tangent, but like life is 3 buckets. It's what you know. It's something you at least know to the Dunning-Kruger principle, I suppose, if you still believe in that espousement. It's things that you don't know, but you usually don't know them because you're in that pit of despair, or you're in those places where you have some contextual awareness. And an easy way to think about that is like, I didn't know my wife had moved the furniture until I walked around it in the dark and kicked my toe. Right? Like those are things you just can't, they're outside that. You can be contextually aware now that I kicked my toe, but I had to figure out some things. Right? They're my don't know bucket, what happened, right? Maybe that's a poor analogy. I'll think about it harder. And then the last one is what you don't know, you don't know. Those are things like you just have no contextual awareness of the gaps that you have. You have no understanding of stubbing your toe and figuring out what's going on. Like you have none of this playing out. And so it's so out there, you just won't know till it slaps you in the face. I would argue, William, that Claude lets you get slapped in the face faster by things, and if you're a thinking human, you can learn from those things while it corrects it as well, and it is pretty good at correcting it ish. With a lot of guidance. Anyways, yeah, great call out. And then slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Yeah, right. Like, absolutely. And it really is kind of like if you ever watch somebody doing something that is super proficient, that's so fast, it looks almost slow motion, like to some extent. Anyways, but yeah, I don't disagree. All right, cool. All right, y'all. Appreciate everybody. See y'all later. I hope to stream. I'll probably stream regularly next week. We'll see. Make fun of me if I don't when I do come back on.